Reborn, the school bell secretly loves me. Ding ling ling tilde. The shrill sound of the bell rang out, and the classroom immediately became noisy. Time for PE class. It had been almost a semester since the last PE class, so the students were excited. After a while, the noise gradually quieted down. Only Chu Yun and his deskmate Qiao Mengshu were left in the classroom, with Chu Yun lying on the desk, still half asleep. Chu Yun sluggishly sat up, rubbing his eyes. This set of code is really hard to deal with. He couldn't help but complain inwardly. He was a programmer at an internet company, and had been working non-stop for over 50 hours on a small program. Just when he finally got the program sorted out, he was so exhausted that his eyes couldn't stay open. He collapsed on his desk and fell asleep. He tilde. Chu Yun squinted his eyes and stretched lazily. However, as he stretched, he felt something soft on the back of his hand. Turning his hand over, he squeezed it hard. The sensation was actually quite pleasant. Ding! Detected intimate physical contact with the opposite sex for more than 30 seconds. Transitioning from single status to a new life. Ding! Newbie gift package received. Ding! Achievement unlocked, damn, single. Ding! Achievement package for leaving single life received. A series of sounds rang in Chu Yun's mind, leaving him frozen in place for a moment. What's going on? Chu Yun was a bit confused, his blurry eyes opened fully, and the sight before him stunned him even more. His computer desk was gone, and instead, there were 2 stacks of textbooks about 30 centimeters high in front of him. Every desk was covered with thick textbooks. Even his clothes were the blue and white school uniform. Isn't this my high school? Could it be that I'm dreaming? Wow, this dream feels so real, and there's a system notification sound. I really must have gone crazy wanting to be the protagonist. Just as Chu Yun was still dazed, a voice reached his ears. Hey! Let go of your hand. Chu Yun's heart skipped a beat. The voice was so familiar, but he couldn't quite place where he'd heard it before. He turned his head. A pretty face appeared in front of him, with sparkling eyes, long eyelashes trembling slightly, a small delicate nose, and lips as red as cherries, soft and pink. But at that moment, her crescent-shaped eyebrows were furrowed slightly, and her face was flushed. Chu Yun was stunned for a moment. Qiao Mengshu. This was actually his high school classmate, Qiao Mengshu. Qiao Mengshu was the recognized beauty of the school, and she was his deskmate in high school. However, back in school, Chu Yun was a typical, straight guy, focused only on studying and playing basketball with his friends. So, his memory of this beautiful deskmate was limited to her looks and good grades. After high school graduation, Qiao Mengshu went abroad for college, while Chu Yun stayed in the country. Since then, they had never had any further interaction. Let go of your hand. Someone will see us. Qiao Mengshu's voice was soft but tinged with urgency. Chu Yun finally realized that his hand was still on her body. And in a rather inappropriate area. But Chu Yun didn't immediately retract his hand. After all, this was his dream, and all the students had already left the classroom, leaving only him and Qiao Mengshu. What was odd, though, was Qiao Mengshu's reaction. If Chu Yun really had his hand on her chest, normally, a girl would be angry. But Qiao Mengshu didn't seem mad at all. Instead, she seemed a bit shy. Could this be the kind of fantasy dream I've always wanted? I can't believe I'm having this kind of dream. This is just too amazing. Chu Yun secretly complimented himself and unconsciously squeezed a little harder. Qiao Mengshu could no longer tolerate it. She reached up, placed her hand on his waist, and pinched a piece of flesh, twisting it. Ouch! It hurts! Chu Yun cried out in pain and quickly retracted his hand. Wait, I actually felt pain. This isn't a dream. I've really been reborn. Chu Yun stared in disbelief at the familiar yet unfamiliar face before him. So, I really did just grab Qiao Mengshu's. But this girl has really grown well. Why are you awake now? The sound of her voice, like a bird's song, pulled Chu Yun out of his thoughts. Looking at Qiao Mengshu, so real before him, Chu Yun finally confirmed that he had been reborn. He had returned to 20 years ago, to when he was in high school. To the spring of the year 2000. After taking a deep breath to calm himself, Chu Yun looked around the classroom. His eyes stopped at the banner above the blackboard. Study hard for 5 months, strive to achieve your dreams. The huge banner hung above the blackboard. 5 months. Chu Yun's breath hitched. Only 5 months until the college entrance exam. He couldn't help but smile wryly. 5 months. He had probably forgotten most of what he learned in high school by now. How could he possibly prepare for the exam in such a short time? But then, Chu Yun suddenly remembered the system's prompt and mentally activated it. A light blue, semi-transparent system interface appeared before him. Chu Yun glanced at it for a while and soon understood the system's function. Simply put, the system rewarded Chu Yun with gift packages whenever he unlocked achievements in life. For example, just now, the system had unlocked the achievement for getting out of single status when his physical contact with Qiao Mengshu exceeded 30 seconds. Of course, the other person had to be someone of the opposite sex, and the contact had to be mutual, not forced. What's more, this achievement could only be earned once. Repeated contact wouldn't trigger the same reward. Understanding this, Chu Yun turned his attention to the system's inventory. 2 gift packages lay quietly in the system's storage space. Chu Yun clicked to open the first one, their newbie gift package. Ding! Newbie gift package opened, receiving 100,000 in funds. Ding! Received the skill card, quick understanding and memory. Ding! Received the skill, Wing Chun. Chu Yun listened to the system's notifications and checked the inventory. The 100,000 appeared in the system's funds section, but it wasn't actual physical money. However, Chu Yun understood that this was like a bank account, and the funds could be transferred to others directly without being tracked by banks. As for the exchange rate, it was 1:1 to the local currency. Chu Yun took the 5 yuan he had from his backpack, made a mental note, and in an instant, the 5 yuan vanished. The system's fund column now displayed the number 100,005. Okay, this makes it much more convenient. Chu Yun then looked at the second reward. It was a skill card designed to help him learn quickly. However, this skill wasn't permanent, which made Chu Yun a bit disappointed. Luckily, the card's duration was 3 months. This was a relief for Chu Yun. With some foundation already, combined with this skill card, he was confident he would be able to handle the upcoming exams without any problem. After checking the second item, Chu Yun's eyes gleamed as he looked at the third reward. Wing Chun. 2. I didn't mean to. As a fan of both Ip Man and Bruce Lee, Chu Yun was well aware of the power of Wing Chun. However, unlike Bruce Lee, not many people today delve into martial arts. If they did, many forms of kung fu could be revived and popularized. Nowadays, so-called masters often make excuses like, I lost because I was too careless, I didn't dodge in time. If Bruce Lee were still alive, he'd probably be furious. Chu Yun looked at the skill card in the system space and mentally activated it. In an instant, his mind was flooded with a multitude of martial arts techniques, and his body was also enhanced by the system. Before, Chu Yun was quite thin. He was 1.84 meters tall but only weighed about 50 kilograms. But now, after the system's enhancement, his physical abilities had dramatically improved. His muscles had grown significantly, and his weight had increased to 59 kilograms. He now felt as though he had practiced Wing Chun for decades. Both his mind and muscle memory had become incredibly familiar with the techniques. He could now execute them instinctively. His reflexes had also improved dramatically. For example, a regular person might be able to throw 2 punches in a second, but Chu Yun could throw 15. Even Bruce Lee could only manage around 9 punches per second. Chu Yun's speed was nearly twice that of Bruce Lee's. This realization made Chu Yun incredibly happy. After his excitement subsided, he turned his attention to the second gift bag. This is the achievement gift bag. I wonder what's inside, he muttered as he opened it. Ding! Congratulations, the host has received a heart-shaped chocolate gift box. Ding! Congratulations, the host has received a birthday cake customizable contents. Chu Yun stared at the chocolate and cake in the system space, bewildered. What is this? These 2 items didn't seem very useful to him right now, so he didn't dwell on them further. However, he was a bit disappointed that the achievement gift bag only contained food. Chu Yun. Seeing him staring blankly, Qiao Mengshu waved her delicate hand in front of his face. I'm fine, Chu Yun replied, snapping back to reality. Qiao Mengshu, noticing his earlier intimate gesture, couldn't help but blush. She thought, he must have been sleepwalking. Chu Yun, now fully aware, noticed the subtle concern on Qiao Mengshu's face and a slight shift in her expression. It made him wonder, did she have feelings for him? Back in high school, he had never noticed anything like that. Are you okay now? By the way, why were you so tired this morning? You came in and went straight to sleep. You slept through the whole first self-study session. Chu Yun and Qiao Mengshu had similar academic performances and were always at the top of their class. When they were in their second year of high school, they were placed in the same liberal arts class after the division, and they remained deskmates throughout high school. Well, last night, Chu Yun's memory began to clear. He remembered watching the NBA regular season until 2 a.m., and then waking up at 6 a.m. for school. No wonder he was so tired. Does your head still hurt? You should sleep earlier at night. Your seat is by the window, so you could catch a cold if you sleep there too long. Qiao Mengshu looked at him seriously. Chu Yun smiled. I know, you sound like a mom giving me a lecture. HMPH. You're calling me a nag. Fine, I won't talk to you anymore. When Qiao Mengshu heard him teasing her, she immediately puffed her cheeks in mock anger and turned her face away, pretending to be really upset. In the past, Chu Yun, being a straightforward guy, would have stopped talking if someone ignored him. But now, he was a different person. After his rebirth, he had gained more than a decade of social experience. He knew that Qiao Mengshu wasn't really angry, but if he ignored her now, that's when she'd truly get upset. So, Chu Yun shook his head and said, well, of course. If all moms looked as beautiful as Mengshu, no one would find them annoying. When Qiao Mengshu heard the compliment, her frown faded and the corners of her lips curled up into a smile. HMPH. You're such a smooth talker. Although she said this, her smile betrayed her joy. Well? Is their mom not mad anymore? Chu Yun teased further. Go away. Qiao Mengshu raised her small fist and tried to punch him. Chu Yun instinctively reached out and grabbed her fist. The cool sensation of her delicate hand instantly spread through his palm, the softness of her fist wrapping around his fingers. Qiao Mengshu froze. A rosy blush spread from her neck up to her slightly chubby cheeks, dyeing her pale face red. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Thump thump thump. Qiao Mengshu quickly snapped back to reality and hurriedly tried to pull her hand away. At her sudden movement, Chu Yun unconsciously loosened his grip. Qiao Mengshu quickly withdrew her hand, hiding behind the stack of books on her desk, too embarrassed to look up. Oh, I didn't mean to. Chu Yun hadn't expected that his reflexive action would result in him grabbing Qiao Mengshu's hand. Oh, you're still going on about it. Qiao Mengshu's face was even redder now, and she buried her head further behind the books like an ostrich, too embarrassed to face him. Ding ling ling. The harsh bell rang again. The students who had rushed out earlier slowly returned to the classroom, heads hung low. Their homeroom teacher, who was also their Chinese teacher, strode into the classroom wearing high heels. Attention! Good morning, Teacher Tilder. Please sit, everyone. The PE teacher is sick today, so I'll be taking this class. The familiar routine made Chu Yun feel like he was in a dream. He let out a long breath. Since he was here, he might as well attend class. He reached for the cup on his desk, intending to take a sip of water. But then, he realized he hadn't gotten water during the break earlier, and now the cup was empty. Chu Yun sighed, putting the cup back on the desk. He hadn't been very thirsty before, but once he noticed the empty cup, the feeling of thirst became much stronger. Are you thirsty? A soft voice reached his ears. Qiao Mengshu, who had been secretly observing him, wasn't paying much attention to the class. When she saw that Chu Yun's cup was empty, she paused for a moment. Her own cup was also empty, but Qiao Mengshu glanced at the soda in her drawer. Soda was a luxury item in this era, but since her family was somewhat well off, she occasionally drank it. Just a little, Chu Yun whispered. They were sitting in the front row, so he spoke in a small voice, not wanting to be heard by the teacher. 3. Today's soda tastes extra sweet. Qiao Mengshu looked at Chu Yun's slightly cracked lips. Just a little, she thought. This clearly means he's really thirsty. She wanted to offer him her soda, but the bottle was already opened, and there was a straw in it. After noticing the cracked lips, Qiao Mengshu bit her lower lip, as if making up her mind. I have some soda. Would you like a sip? She took the soda from her drawer and handed it to Chu Yun. Chu Yun looked at the glass bottle in his hand. It was the small steel soda from the school shop, the same green bottle that hadn't changed in 20 years. Maybe it was just his mind playing tricks on him, but Chu Yun was really thirsty. He grabbed the soda and took a few sips directly from the straw. Glug, glug. The small steel soda was as refreshing as ever, with the same taste that hadn't changed in 20 years. Qiao Mengshu was surprised. Chu Yun had used the straw she had just drunk from. 2 red spots appeared on her face. How could he drink from my straw? She couldn't help but think, is this like an indirect kiss? What am I thinking? Chu Yun, feeling a little less thirsty, handed the bottle back to Qiao Mengshu. This soda tastes extra sweet today, he teased. When Qiao Mengshu heard this, she knew Chu Yun had purposely used her straw. Her face, which was already a little red, flushed even more. Wait, no, why am I taking it back? He has already drunk from it. She stared blankly at the bottle in her hand and then at Chu Yun, who was lost in thought. If I drink it now, does that mean I kissed him? Qiao Mengshu continued to stare at the soda, not sure what to do. She had always thought Chu Yun was handsome, but in this moment, he seemed even more so. It was as if he was glowing. His handsome face, like a magnet, drew her gaze. Chu Yun sensed someone was looking at him. He snapped out of his thoughts, and their eyes met. Startled, Qiao Mengshu quickly turned away and, trying to cover up her awkwardness, took a few sips from her soda. She glanced at Chu Yun and saw he wasn't looking at her anymore. A small sigh of relief escaped her. Then, it hit her. I just drank the soda that Chu Yun had already drunk from. That means I just kissed him indirectly. Her face turned scarlet, and the flush spread all the way to the back of her ears. Chu Yun turned his head and saw Qiao Mengshu's face redder than a ripe tomato. Seeing her shy expression, he couldn't resist teasing her. Why is your face so red? Qiao Mengshu put the back of her cool hand to her face, and her muddled brain slowly began to clear. I'm a little hot. Chu Yun thought to himself, this little girl can be quite the actress. It's January, and it's freezing cold here in Jiangbei City, with temperatures below 20 C. There's a cold breeze coming in through the window. I feel chilly, and yet she says she is hot. He decided to tease her a little more. He leaned slightly toward Qiao Mengshu. Such sweet soda. I wonder if I can drink it every day. Qiao Mengshu, embarrassed, stood up and shouted. Qiao Mengshu, do you need something? The teacher, who had been looking at her curiously, raised an eyebrow. Qiao Mengshu, her face buried in her chest, stammered. Teacher. I need to go to the bathroom. She rushed out of the classroom, head down. Chu Yun hadn't expected such a strong reaction from her, and a smile tugged at his lips. Looks like I need to take it slow, can't scare the little girl. To Chu Yun, Qiao Mengshu still felt like a little girl, even though his psychological age was already over 30. Soon after, Qiao Mengshu returned from the hallway, looking like she had regained her composure. But once she sat down, her face was still slightly red. Chu Yun didn't continue to tease her. After all, he was still a student. The rest of the day, Chu Yun spent thinking about his future plans. By the time school ended, he had a bit of an idea. It was the year 2000, and there were still many industries he could get involved in. Chu Yun had a background in programming, so after thinking it over, he decided to enter the internet industry. But since he was still a student, the most important thing right now was to focus on the college entrance exams. The time left in high school was limited, and there wasn't much room for error. Once he got into college, he would have more freedom to focus on his future. But starting his business at that point might be a little late. Before he could start his company, Chu Yun needed to earn his first pot of gold. He planned to make that money in the last few months of high school. Then, once he was in college, he could set things up and make a move. Ring, ring, ring tilde. The bell for school dismissal rang, and Chu Yun packed his bag and headed to their bike shed. He unlocked his bike and started walking it out of the shed. As he reached the entrance, he noticed Qiao Mengshu unlocking her bike. Chu Yun glanced over at her and noticed something red on her school pants. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that one of her relatives is here? He watched as the red stain on her pants began to spread, but Qiao Mengshu seemed unaware. There were a few people in the bike shed, but no one was paying attention to them. Just then, there was a bustling sound outside the shed. R. As Qiao Mengshu unlocked her bike, she suddenly felt someone wrap their arms around her waist. Looking down, she saw a strong hand tying something around her waist. She was about to shout, but a low voice cut her off. Don't make a sound. Your pants are dirty. Let me cover it for you. The familiar voice reached her ears. She opened her mouth but didn't make a sound. It was Chu Yun's voice. What is he doing? Should I resist? Qiao Mengshu's heart was confused, and she felt torn. Chu Yun tied the school uniform around her waist and whispered in her ear. How come you didn't notice your relative was here? His warm breath brushed against her ear, making it redden. Relative. Qiao Mengshu suddenly realized what he meant and blushed even more. Oh my god. How embarrassing. Don't worry, no one saw. Chu Yun withdrew his arm, his tone casual. 4. Qiao Mengshu got her period. At that moment, a bunch of students rushed into the bike shed. The bustling noise snapped Qiao Mengshu back to her thoughts. She turned around, lowered her head, and quietly said to Chu Yun, "Thank you." Looking at Qiao Mengshu with her head down, Chu Yun couldn't help but smile and said, "Looks like I won't be able to drink sweet soda for the next couple of days, huh?" Qiao Mengshu froze for a moment, then understood the meaning behind Chu Yun's words. Her face turned even redder. R. Chu Yun, however, said seriously, "It's okay, it's your special time. I can understand." R. You're still saying that? Qiao Mengshu was embarrassed and a little angry from his teasing. Chu Yun raised his eyebrow. What's wrong? Are you denying it? You didn't object in class. No objections mean you agree, and agreeing means you're responsible for me. He teased with a small laugh. What, don't you want to be responsible for me anymore? Qiao Mengshu stomped her foot in embarrassment. R. There are so many people here. Chu Yun laughed out loud. Oh, I see. So that means you're willing to take responsibility, huh? Qiao Mengshu was stunned. Wait a minute, didn't boys usually take responsibility for girls in situations like this? How did it end up with the girl being responsible for the boy? HMPH. I'm not talking to you anymore. She stomped her foot and turned around, pushing her bicycle. Chu Yun noticed. How are you going to ride like that? It was only then that Qiao Mengshu realized her mistake and looked at him with a sad expression. Chu Yun smiled. It's okay. We live in the same neighborhood. Come on, I'll take you. He pushed his bicycle and walked toward the shed's exit. Qiao Mengshu had no choice but to follow him. Since cycling wasn't allowed on campus, she followed him quietly, her head down, not sure what she was thinking. Suddenly, Chu Yun stopped in front of her. Qiao Mengshu, her head lowered and her bangs covering her vision, bumped directly into his back. Ow, that hurts. Chu Yun was slim, and Qiao Mengshu felt like she had bumped into a stone. It wasn't fast, but it still hurt. Chu Yun turned around and saw Qiao Mengshu holding her forehead, looking a bit helpless. How could this girl not be looking ahead? He reached out, took her hand away from her forehead, and gently pushed her bangs aside. On her pale forehead, there was a small red mark from the collision. Does it hurt? Qiao Mengshu nodded. Chu Yun softly blew on her forehead. Qiao Mengshu had never held hands with a boy before, but now her hand was in Chu Yun's. She felt his warm breath against her forehead, and for a moment, she didn't know what to do. Wow tilde. A few voices of admiration came from nearby. It turned out they had reached the school gate, and students were streaming out as the bell rang. Qiao Mengshu was startled and quickly withdrew her hand from Chu Yun's. I'm fine, it doesn't hurt anymore. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Chu Yun. Okay, let us go, Chu Yun said, getting on his bike. Qiao Mengshu sat on the back seat, gently gripping the edge of his shirt. Chu Yun began to pedal toward the neighborhood. Qiao Mengshu looked at his back and asked, Aren't you cold? Since she had borrowed his jacket, Chu Yun was only wearing a thin autumn shirt. I'm cold. If someone could hold me, I'd probably be fine, Chu Yun replied casually, glancing at Qiao Mengshu. Understanding the hint in his words, Qiao Mengshu hesitated for a moment before she cautiously wrapped her arm around his waist. She only held him lightly. Chu Yun looked down at her hands and smiled. He gently squeezed the brake, making the bike wobble. Qiao Mengshu instinctively tightened her arms, and her upper body pressed against Chu Yun's back. Feeling the soft sensation on his back, Chu Yun couldn't help but think, she's usually in those loose school clothes, but I didn't realize she's developed so well. Good thing I took my time earlier. Who knows when I get another chance like that. Chu Yun's eyes flashed with a hint of satisfaction. Qiao Mengshu, holding onto Chu Yun's waist and feeling his firm muscles, felt a sense of security. Although the bike was much steadier now, she still tightly hugged him, thinking to herself, I wish I could stay like this forever. If only we could always be together. Lost in her thoughts, Qiao Mengshu didn't realize the bike had stopped. Chu Yun turned around and noticed her dazed expression, and with a smile, asked, What are you thinking about? Qiao Mengshu was jolted back to reality by his voice. She looked at him, her face still slightly flushed, and he teased, What? Were you thinking about whether to have a boy or a girl with me? Chu Yun was joking, but Qiao Mengshu didn't expect him to hit the mark. HMPH. You go ahead and have one yourself, she said, pouting and turning her face away. Chu Yun laughed, all right, I'll have one myself. But we're home now. Are you planning to watch me give birth? Only then did Qiao Mengshu realize they had already arrived home. She jumped off the bike lightly, looked at the school jacket she was still wearing, and noticed faint traces of blood on it. She lowered her head and said, My jacket is dirty. I'll wash it and return it to you. Chu Yun nodded, agreeing, Sure, but since I helped you so much, shouldn't you thank me? Qiao Mengshu blushed and asked, How should I thank you? Chu Yun pretended to be serious, At times like this, shouldn't you offer your body as thanks? Qiao Mengshu froze for a second, then lowered her head and began fiddling with her shirt hem, speaking softly, Okay. Her voice was so quiet that Chu Yun, standing right in front of her, didn't catch it. What? Chu Yun asked, leaning in closer to her and putting his ear to her. Seeing that he didn't hear, Qiao Mengshu shook her lips, then suddenly raised her head and kissed his face. Smack! Chu Yun was stunned. He didn't expect this bold move. I said, okay. Qiao Mengshu said loudly into his ear, then quickly turned and ran into the building. Chu Yun blinked, then smiled, laughing softly. Har har. He pushed his bike toward his home, eager to open his loot. At home, Chu Yun's mother, Chu Yun, had already prepared dinner. When Chu Yun was in his first year of high school, his father passed away, and his mother had worked tirelessly to raise him until he graduated from university. Despite the hardships, Chu Yun was always optimistic and never complained. As soon as Chu Yun stepped in the door, he heard his mother's voice. My Yuner is back. Chu Yun teased him as she brought out the dishes. Hearing her voice made Chu Yun feel incredibly happy. He hadn't been home in 2 years because of his work, and now, hearing her tone, he couldn't help but smile. Yes, I've returned. Is it time for dinner? Chu Yun, carrying bowls and chopsticks, responded with a smile, Yes, Your Majesty. Before dining, may I ask the Emperor to wash his hands? Sure, Empress Dowager, Chu Yun answered with a grin. He dropped his bag and went to wash his hands. After dinner, Chu Yun went to bed early. 5. Buying all the iced tea. The next morning, after having breakfast, Chu Yun had just gone downstairs and was about to push his bicycle when his Nokia phone rang. The familiar ringtone, the iconic Nokia tune, played. The pleasant melody sounded, and Chu Yun paused. While pulling his Nokia out of his pocket, he said, I can't believe that after all these years, this ringtone is still so catchy. Taking out the phone, the caller ID showed it was Qiao Mengshu. Chu Yun, should I wait for you downstairs? I didn't ride my bike yesterday. Chu Yun held the phone with one hand and his bicycle with the other. Okay, I'm already out, and I'll be there soon. Alright, I'll wait for you. After hanging up, Chu Yun mounted his bike and headed toward Qiao Mengshu's place. After passing 2 buildings, he turned a corner and saw Qiao Mengshu waiting at the entrance of her building. Upon seeing Chu Yun, Qiao Mengshu immediately smiled, her whole demeanor exuding youthful energy. Hey! I washed your uniform carefully. I left it on the radiator last night, and it was dry this morning. Chu Yun took the uniform, put it on, and smiled. It's so warm. Is this the warmth of love? I'm already sweating. He pretended to wipe his forehead, making a dramatic motion as if wiping sweat. Qiao Mengshu blushed and lightly punched Chu Yun's arm. always talking sweetly, hurry up, or we'll be late. This time, as she sat on the back of Chu Yun's bike, Qiao Mengshu actively hugged Chu Yun. Chu Yun pedaled, and they headed toward the school. In fact, the community where they lived wasn't too far from the school, only about a 15-minute bike ride. When Qiao Mengshu used to ride by herself, she always thought the journey was long. But today, sitting behind Chu Yun, the time seemed to pass quickly. Soon, they arrived at school. It was the peak time for students arriving, and the sight of Qiao Mengshu riding behind Chu Yun immediately attracted attention. Isn't that the school beauty, Qiao Mengshu? Why is she sitting on that guy's bike? A boy wearing black-rimmed glasses commented. The boy next to him, who was Chu Yun's deskmate, replied. Yeah, I know that guy. He's from our class, his name is Chu Yun. Hey, do you think they are dating? Maybe. Chu Yun and Qiao Mengshu didn't hear their comments. After locking up the bikes, they walked together to their classroom. Their relationship had already spread throughout the class in just a few minutes. At first, people doubted the accuracy of the news. But when they saw Chu Yun and Qiao Mengshu walk into the classroom together, some showed surprised expressions, while others wore a knowing look. The morning passed quickly. At lunch, they went to the school's small shop to get some snacks. At this moment, a short boy blocked their path. Qiao Mengshu, I bought you a drink. The boy said, holding out a drink, with a challenging expression on his face as he looked at Chu Yun. Back in 2000, a high school student who could afford a drink was considered quite wealthy. After all, most families were average, and pocket money was only about 10 yuan per week. An iced tea costing 2.5 yuan was considered quite a luxury for students. Chu Yun recognized this boy. His name was Guo Siming, a local bully, nicknamed Little for Mao. In Chu Yun's past life, Little for Mao had pursued Qiao Mengshu, but she had rejected him. He remembered once when Qiao Mengshu had been fed up with him and told him that she liked Chu Yun. That very night, she invited him home, but he had refused, using "I have to play basketball after school" as an excuse. This had led to her transferring schools, and after the college entrance exams, she went abroad. In this life, Chu Yun was determined not to let the same thing happen again. No need. I'll buy Qiao Mengshu her drink. Chu Yun stepped in front of Qiao Mengshu, blocking her from Little for Mao. Looking at Little for Mao, who was shorter than him by about a head, Chu Yun felt a strange sense of unease. He knew exactly what Little for Mao was trying to do. Qiao Mengshu was slightly taken aback, feeling a sudden sense of security. This security came from Chu Yun. Little for Mao, seeing Chu Yun blocking his way, sneered and said, "Just you? Can you even afford iced tea?" "Don't think I don't know," he continued with a mocking smile. "Your mom only gives you 50 yuan a month for your allowance." 6. A wave of dog food. Xiao Simu laughed at Chu Yun in a sarcastic way in front of the store. The store, which was originally crowded with people, was suddenly surrounded by many people. Eh? Aren't those Chu Yun and Qiao Mengshu? Yes, there was a rumor in the class today that they are in love. What are they doing here? Did you see the boy opposite them? That's Xiao Simu, a gangster in the school, who is now pursuing Qiao Mengshu. But isn't Qiao Mengshu with Chu Yun? So Xiao Simu is in trouble with Chu Yun, and now there's something interesting to watch. Many classmates began to whisper. Some people who didn't know the situation asked their former classmates. Soon, the rumor spread that Xiao Simu was going to duel with Chu Yun. Many people on campus began to call their good friends to come and watch the show. Come and watch, Xiao Simu is going to duel with Chu Yun. This kind of thing in school is the most interesting to people. There were more and more people in front of the canteen. Xiao Simu raised his head and looked at Chu Yun with contempt. "Chu Yun, I tell you, my monthly pocket money is 300 yuan. It's more than enough to buy 2 bottles of iced black tea for Qiao Mengshu every day. How about you?" As soon as Xiao Simu said this, the people around him gasped. 300 yuan. So much. You know, their tuition for one semester in high school is only more than 400 yuan. Including textbook fees, it's only 600 yuan. And Xiao Simu's monthly pocket money is almost the same as their tuition for half a semester. Many people present only have 30 to 50 yuan a month. After all, the economic development of Jiangbei City is at this level, and many families have a monthly income of 1,800 yuan. It's not a small amount to give their own children 30 to 50 yuan. Some people looked at Chu Yun with pity in their eyes. After all, many people know Chu Yun's family situation. When he was in the first year of high school, his father passed away, and Chu Yun took 2 months off. The family that originally had two people earning money became one person earning money. The already poor family was even worse off. Chu Yun looked at Xiao Simu with a hint of disdain in his eyes. After all, before his rebirth, although Chu Yun was a poor programmer, his monthly salary was more than 20,000 yuan. Now Xiao Simu is much better than these 3 or 200 yuan. He really doesn't look down on them. Even if we don't talk about before his rebirth, he has 100,000 yuan on him now. At this moment, Qiao Mengshu didn't know where she got the courage from, and took Chu Yun's hand and said, "I don't need your iced black tea, Chu Yun is enough to accompany me." As soon as Qiao Mengshu said this, many people covered their cheeks. "I'm jealous. I really envy Chu Yun, there is such a good girl willing to be with him. Wow, I dared to come to watch the duel, but I didn't expect to eat a wave of dog food. Everyone has the responsibility to take care of single dogs." Chu Yun looked at Qiao Mengshu's resolute profile and felt a little moved. Such a good girl, why didn't I seize it in my previous life? Since God has given me this chance to start over, I must never let her be sad. Chu Yun turned his head and looked up and down at this little Simu with cold eyes. "Iced black tea, huh? Let me show you how ridiculous your 2 bottles of iced black tea are in my hands." After that, Chu Yun pulled Qiao Mengshu into the store. Xiao Simu followed Chu Yun and Qiao Mengshu with a sneer, mocking. "Hey, are you planning to buy 4 bottles of iced black tea? What will happen after that? How much money will you have next week?" Many people deeply agreed with Xiao Simu's words. It is not a wise choice to compare financial resources with Xiao Simu. After all, he has 300 yuan of pocket money a month. Even if Chu Yun beats Xiao Simu today. What about tomorrow? What about the day after tomorrow? This is an unsolvable dilemma. However, some people are little dissatisfied with Xiao Simu's behavior. Why show off with a few stinky money? Chu Yun walked to the front of the store owner. "Boss, how much iced black tea do you have in your store?" The boss was a little confused at first. There were so many people at the door of the store today, why didn't anyone come in to buy things? Now Chu Yun came in and asked how much iced black tea he had. He didn't react for a while. "How many bottles do you want, classmate?" Chu Yun waved his hand. "How many iced black teas do you have in your store?" The shop owner was stunned by Chu Yun's words, but then he looked at Chu Yun up and down with a puzzled look. "Classmate, please don't make fun of me, I have more than a dozen boxes of iced black tea in my store." Xiao Simu heard the conversation between Chu Yun and the boss and laughed. "Har har har, did you hear that? This poor guy actually asked how many iced black teas this store has. I'm dying of laughter." Xiao Simu covered his stomach and pointed at Chu Yun and laughed. "Har har, boss, I want to buy all the iced black tea in your store," Xiao Simu said while performing in a weird tone. At this time, the students watching frowned slightly when they heard Xiao Simu's words. Xiao Simu was a bit too much. Chu Yun just asked a question, but Xiao Simu kept mocking him. Chu Yun's face was as gloomy as water. He turned around and looked at Xiao Simu. "What? Do you think you are rich?" When Xiao Simu heard Chu Yun ask him, he raised his head with a disdainful expression on his face. "Not much, but it's more than enough to buy all the iced black tea in this store." Chu Yun glanced at Xiao Simu. "I was waiting for you to say this." Chu Yun sneered in his heart and turned to the boss of the store. "Boss, how much does it cost to buy all the iced black tea here?" The boss looked at Xiao Simu, then at Chu Yun, with a little dissatisfaction on his face. These people didn't buy anything, so why were they making trouble here? But he didn't explode, he knew Xiao Simu, and Xiao Simu was a frequent customer here. "I have 10 boxes of iced black tea in my store, and a few bottles of scattered ones, which will cost at least 600 yuan. Chu Yun heard the boss's words, turned his head and looked at Xiao Simu, and made a gesture of invitation. "Come on, didn't you say you could buy all the iced black tea?" Xiao Simu heard Chu Yun's words, and the mocking smile on his face disappeared. Instead, his face turned ashen. "What a joke! My monthly pocket money is only 300 yuan, not to mention that more than half a month has passed." However, he immediately realized that Chu Yun was teasing him. After all, he just said that his monthly pocket money was 300 yuan. Xiao Simu was a little angry and embarrassed when he realized this. He felt that Chu Yun's words made him lose face, fuck you, I gave you face, right? I can drink iced black tea every day, and you? A poor guy who can't even buy a bottle of iced black tea. Chu Yun heard Xiao Simu's words, and a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. He reached into his trouser pocket, and when he took it out, a wad of scattered RMB appeared in his hand. 7. You will know immediately. You said I can't afford all the iced black tea in this store, do you think these are enough? Chu Yun held a wad of scattered RMB in his hand and looked at Xiao Simu. The sneer on Xiao Simu's face disappeared instantly, and he stared at the RMB in Chu Yun's hand. How is this possible? How can Chu Yun take out so much money? This wad of RMB, judging from its thickness, must be several thousand yuan, or even tens of thousands. And Chu Yun held this wad of money in his hand so scattered, it looked like he usually had so much pocket money on him. The expression on Xiao Simu's face was very good looking. The previous second he was still laughing at Chu Yun, and the next moment Chu Yun actually took out so much money. Xiao Simu felt his face burning with pain. He was actually slapped in the face by Chu Yun in public. There were so many students around, and thinking back on his behavior just now, he felt as ridiculous as a clown. Impossible. How could Chu Yun have so much money? Many people knew about their family situation, and they were considered poor. If Chu Yun had so much money, it must be fake. Yes. It must be fake. Xiao Simu's eyes burst into a gleam of light. Har har, Chu Yun, you are really ridiculous, why are you pretending with fake money here? Hearing Xiao Simu's words, many classmates showed a hint of enlightenment in their eyes. No wonder. I thought Chu Yun was some rich second generation who had been hiding for 3 years. It turned out to be fake money. That makes sense. The owner of the canteen also stared at the soft sister currency in Chu Yun's hand with a serious look. Classmate, your money. The owner looked at the money in Chu Yun's hand with a suspicious look, and then looked at Chu Yun. As the owner of the school canteen, he almost knew which student in this school had a rich family and which had no money. Some students come to his shop every day, while some students don't come once a semester. And Chu Yun is obviously the latter. Qiao Mengshu grabbed Chu Yun's other hand, a little dissatisfied with the boss's attitude. Whether this money is real or not, you can find out by passing it through the money detector. Qiao Mengshu now believes in Chu Yun unconditionally. She and Chu Yun have sat at the same table for 3 years and know Chu Yun's character best. Chu Yun would never do such a thing as taking out fake money to cheat. Yes, boss, you can find out by checking it. A classmate in the crowd shouted. There is a money detector in the canteen, but it is used less than twice a year, so the boss didn't think of it for a while. Now, after being reminded by someone, the boss hurriedly moved the money detector out and plugged it in. Chu Yun put the money on the money detector, and Xiao Simu stared at the money detector. Swish, swish, swish. As the money passed through the money detector, Xiao Simu's face became more and more ugly. How is it possible? It's real money. The students around were all opening their mouths wider and wider. 100. The money detector counted and checked all the money in a short time. The faces of the people present were different. The students were all shocked. They didn't expect Chu Yun to be so rich. The boss's face gradually became happy. After all, the money was real. Chu Yun just said that he wanted to buy all the iced black tea in the store. Xiao Simu was dead. He never thought that Chu Yun would have so much money on him. This is 30 times his pocket money. Chu Yun looked at the stunned boss. Is this money enough to buy all the iced black tea in your store? If not, I have more here. Chu Yun reached into his pocket and took out another stack of RMB. Another 10,000. The boss was stunned on the spot. The students watching opened their mouths even wider. Fuck, another 10,000. This is 20,000 yuan. Why do I suddenly think Chu Yun is so handsome? A money-worshipping female student's eyes were almost twinkling with little stars. Before, she would avoid poor students, but she would always go up to rich boys. You were blind before, Chu Yun has always been so handsome. A boy in the crowd who couldn't stand her retorted directly. When Xiao Simu saw Chu Yun actually took out another 10,000 yuan, his face suddenly became ashen. He lost completely. Although his family was rich, it was impossible for him to spend 20,000 yuan. The boss smiled and said to Chu Yun, "You don't need so much, I have 10 boxes of iced black tea here, a total of 600 yuan is enough." The boss thought that he really made a mistake today. I didn't expect that the student in front of him, who didn't come to the canteen once a semester, was actually a rich second generation. Chu Yun glanced at the boss and said coldly, "Send 10 boxes of iced black tea to class 3-5 for me. This is 600 yuan. The boss's face was full of smiles. He took the money and said, Okay, class 3-5, right. I will definitely send it to you later. Damn. This is too extravagant. He directly booked the iced black tea in the whole canteen. I also want a boyfriend who books all the iced black tea for me. Why don't I feel extravagant, but only smell a sour smell of showing affection? Chu Yun, please be my friend." Just at this time, several voices came from behind the crowd. Make way quickly." The crowd made way, and several boys in basketball uniforms squeezed in. Seeing Chu Yun, he was relieved. "It's okay, it's not too late. We were playing basketball. When we heard that you were going to duel with Xiao Simu, we came immediately. How are you? Did you get beaten?" The boys were sweating profusely on their foreheads, and they all looked at Chu Yun with concern. When Chu Yun saw his good brothers, his heart was warm. Sure enough, the brotherhood on the basketball court is the most reliable at critical moments. Chu Yun nodded at these people. "It's okay, I'll deal with it first, and I'll treat you to ice cream after I deal with it." After Chu Yun finished speaking, he turned around, holding the remaining 19,400 yuan in his hand, with a playful smile on his face, looking at Xiao Simu, who was stunned. "Now let's settle the account between us." Xiao Simu couldn't help but take a step back. What do you want to do?" And the boys who just came saw the smile on Chu Yun's face, and their hearts sank immediately. Chu Yun got angry. Others may not know, but they do. When Chu Yun is angry, he always has a smile on his face. This smile seems harmless at first glance, but if you look closely, you can find that Chu Yun's eyes are cold. It is precisely because of this that Chu Yun has a nickname called Smiling Tiger on the court. "What are you doing? You will know it soon." After Chu Yun finished speaking, he said to the brothers beside him, "Are you afraid of punishment? Fearful? That's right, Chu Yun, you say, isn't it just a fight?" Several people immediately patted their chests and surrounded Xiao Simu. "You don't need to do anything, just hold him down for me." As soon as Chu Yun finished speaking, several people pressed Xiao Simu to the ground. Boss, I want to discuss business with you." Chu Yun squatted down. Thinking in his heart, "I have lived for more than 30 years, how can I be compared to you, a teenager?" Chu Yun said to Xiao Simu, "You have 300 pocket money a month, right?" After saying that, he took the money in his hand and waved it at Xiao Simu. Par. 10,000 yuan hit Xiao Simu's face. Xiao Simu's hair suddenly swelled up, and a rectangular red mark appeared on his face. But Xiao Simu was a little confused by this slap. I was beaten. How dare he hit me? This is not true." Before Xiao Simu finished thinking, Chu Yun grabbed the money and raised his hand. "You buy 2 bottles of iced black tea every day, right?" Par. Another slap hit Xiao Simu's face. This slap completely shattered Xiao Simu's fantasy. "This is all true. I was really hit. Asshole. Chu Yun actually dared to hit me." There was complete silence, as quiet as death. The people watching in the store were all silent. Slapping someone with money. Isn't this too exciting? I've only seen it in movies before, but I didn't expect to see it with my own eyes today. Xiao Simu stared at Chu Yun with hatred. "Chu Yun, wait for me, my brother." "Your brother, right?" Par. Another slap, slapped on Xiao Simu's face. The people who were holding Xiao Simu were all shocked. I've seen Chu Yun get angry on the court before, but Chu Yun always got it back in the same way on the court. It was the first time they saw Chu Yun fighting. At this moment, each of them felt a chill in their hearts. It was terrible. Killing people is not as good as hitting the head, but Chu Yun used this method to insult Xiao Simu. Will it hurt if 10,000 yuan hits your face? Of course it hurts, but it is definitely not as painful as using a stick. This way of using money to hit someone in the face will probably leave a lifelong shadow in Xiao Simu's heart, right? When several people thought of this, they all shuddered. Fortunately, they are friends with Chu Yun, otherwise, having such an enemy would definitely leave a psychological shadow. Xiao Simu was slapped 4 times by Chu Yun, and he immediately gave in. "I was wrong, brother Yun, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Xiao Simu's tears and snot flowed down for a while. Chu Yun snorted coldly, signaling several brothers to let Xiao Simu go. Go away, don't hang around in front of me. Xiao Simu crawled away, and when he left, he turned back and stared at Chu Yun. He stared at Chu Yun with hatred, gritted his teeth and said in his heart, Chu Yun, wait for me. Seeing Xiao Simu's hateful eyes, Chu Yun snorted disdainfully. What era is it? Do you still think you are the protagonist? Just look at me and I will lose a piece of meat. How childish. Now Chu Yun regrets a little bit to argue with Xiao Simu. It's not that he is afraid, but he feels it is too embarrassing. I am a person with a soul of more than 30 years old, but I actually fight with this teenage boy. If people know about this, they will laugh their teeth off. Shaking his head, Chu Yun put the money in his hand back into his trouser pocket, took out another one, and said to the boss who was stunned, Give me 6 popsicles. The boss watched Chu Yun slap Xiao Simu the whole time and forgot to take care of this matter. He didn't react until Chu Yun finished beating him. Classmate, you. Chu Yun glanced at the boss, give me 6 popsicles. Seeing Chu Yun's cold eyes, the boss couldn't help but stand on end. It's terrible. This feeling is like holding an embroidery needle and dangling it between your eyebrows. The boss hurriedly took the money from Chu Yun's hand, gave Chu Yun 6 $1 popsicles, and gave Chu Yun the change before he let out a long sigh. Chu Yun distributed the popsicles to his brothers, turned around and pulled Qiao Mengshu, who was also a little dazed, to the door of the canteen. The students who were watching automatically made way for Chu Yun. Along the way, everyone held their breath and looked at Chu Yun. They were afraid that Chu Yun would press them to the ground and fan them with money if they took a breath. Chu Yun and his friends left the canteen and walked towards class 3-5 of senior high school. After a few people left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief in unison. It was too scary. A smiling killer. Just a look made people's hair stand on end. Chu Yun and his friends walked on the road on campus. At this time, among the brothers wearing basketball uniforms, a tall fat man with a protruding belly spoke. Fuck, Chu Yun, it's too exciting, can you call me next time you fight? This fat man is called Zhu Yihao, he is a typical carefree person. Just now, he was frightened by the coldness of Chu Yun, but now he started to dance and reminisce. Eh? How does it feel to slap someone in the face with money? Is it cool? Chu Yun looked at the fat man with a bit of a smile. What's the matter? Do you want to try it? Come on, brothers, hold him down. A group of people immediately made a noise. Qiao Mengshu covered her mouth and laughed, watching the group of people fighting. The years were quiet and good. The fact that Chu Yun slapped Xiao Simu in the face with money soon spread throughout the campus, and various versions emerged one after another. But one thing is certain. That is, Chu Yun slapped Xiao Simu in anger for Qiao Mengshu. The story of Chu Qiao's love spread like wildfire on campus. After the first class in the afternoon, the owner of the canteen delivered the iced black tea. When the owner of the canteen brought the iced black tea to the classroom, many students gathered at the back door of class 3-5 to watch. Wow, a whole box of iced black tea. Who is it? So rich. A classmate who didn't know about Chu Yun yet said in shock when he saw the boss carrying 2 boxes of iced black tea to class 5. You are ignorant, right? Chu Yun, the big boss in our class, bought 10 boxes at once and gave them to the school beauty Qiao Mengshu. Another classmate said proudly, as if being in the same class with Chu Yun made him feel very proud. 10 boxes. This. The classmate looked at the 2 boxes of iced black tea carried by the boss and was speechless for a long time. The boss carried 2 boxes of drinks and put them on the back blackboard of the classroom. When Chu Yun saw the boss delivering drinks to the classroom, he immediately had a bold idea in his mind. So when the boss went downstairs to move the remaining drinks, he followed him. Zhu Yihao saw Chu Yun and the boss leave and hurriedly followed. I'll help you move. Zhu Yihao ran to Chu Yun's side and said. Chu Yun nodded and said nothing. If you want to talk about the reliable friends in the whole high school, Zhu Yihao can definitely rank first. After going downstairs, Chu Yun walked in front of the boss. Boss, I have a business to talk to you about. The boss of the canteen stopped and looked at Chu Yun suspiciously. He had just seen Chu Yun's financial strength. So he was a little confused now. What kind of business could a rich man like Chu Yun do with him? He was just a canteen owner. Zhu Yihao originally came to help Chu Yun move the drinks, and when he heard Chu Yun's words, he also aroused his interest. Brother Yun, what business do you want to do? Do you want to rent the school canteen? 2 months profit at a time. Zhu Yihao was just joking, but Chu Yun said directly. Yes, I just want to rent the school canteen. When Zhu Yihao heard Chu Yun's words, he was stunned. What a joke! Although the school canteen looks like only 30 square meters, there is a warehouse of more than 50 square meters behind it. If you add the rent, it must be at least 10,000 or 20,000, right? He thought to himself, is Chu Yun having a fever? How can he make such a confused decision? Thinking of this, Zhu Yihao stretched out his slightly fat palm, touched Chu Yun's forehead and asked. Brother Yun, you are not flirting, are you? Chu Yun slapped Zhu Yihao's hand away in annoyance. You are the one who is horny, your whole family is horny. Chu Yun kicked Zhu Yihao on the buttocks and ignored the somewhat nervous Zhu Yihao. The shop owner frowned when he heard Chu Yun's words, and his eyes were full of doubts. He was a little unsure of what Chu Yun meant. Could it be that Chu Yun wants to steal my business? Isn't he a rich second generation? How can he